I am going to do a pretty interesting video on tongue jacks. Now, as most of you know, I recently added this LCI Smart Jack to the front of our cargo trailer. It's really cool, and it's called the Smart Jack because it has a memory function. Basically, you can hold the buttons down at the top in a certain combination, and it will remember the hitch height that you had it at when either you coupled or decoupled the trailer. And that's really nice because it kind of just speeds up the process. You can essentially get this thing going to the correct height while you're doing some other stuff, getting other things ready, and you come back to it and it's at the correct height to go ahead and start connecting to your truck. Well, as most of you know, I was at RVX up in Salt Lake City recently, and while I was there, I had an opportunity to meet the folks at Ultra-Fab who also have their version of this type of jack, and they wanted me to compare theirs to this one. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. Hang tight, I think you're going to like this one. So these are the two jacks from Ultra-Fab. These are the Phoenix 5500 series and the 4000 series. Now there's something pretty special about both of these. First of all, the 5500 series is the most powerful tongue jack available. Plus it has a wireless remote and it has the memory feature. But not just one, it has two memory options. So you can actually record it to two different types of vehicles if you want. Now the Phoenix 4000 model has its own really unique advantage, and the fact that this one is the fastest performing tongue jack on the market. So this one has the ability to move up and down at roughly 2 to 3 times the speed as its closest competitor. What that essentially means to you is this one travels about 10 inches up or down in about 45 seconds roughly. This one travels that same 10 inches in under 20 seconds, I believe 18 seconds. So this is incredibly fast. But we're going to show them both today so you have kind of an idea of which one might be best for you and how they compare to the Smart Jack from Lippert. And real quick, before we get to that part, one thing I want to point out is you see on the box it says 2-year warranty. Well, they've recently changed that. Now, both of these jacks come with a 10-year warranty on them. That is pretty awesome, and that just really speaks to how much they trust the durability and longevity of their product. So ignore the 2-year warranty, 10-year warranty on either of these jacks now. That is really cool. Another reason this was really perfect timing to test them, especially against the LCI, is if you walk up to my LCI, you'll notice that I have some silicone sealant around it. The main reason is LCI actually issued a recall on this jack not too long ago because the housings were getting cracked during shipment, and that crack would allow water to get in if it rained or if there was a lot of condensation in the air, and it would actually damage the PC board that is underneath this. Once it got damaged, there was actually a chance that this jack could extend or retract while you were in motion. So I was able to fix that, of course, by putting a little kill switch on mine, but more importantly, they were able to fix the problem by sealing up the control panel and essentially waterproofing it. That being said, my jack still had a cracked housing when it came in, and that again is a problem that LCI still has yet to address completely. And what I've heard is it's simply the way that they're handled on their pallets when they're being shipped to the distributors from LCI. So this is a problem that needs to be addressed. I believe any jack you purchase now, that's already been addressed on, but you know, this jack had some cracks in it. Even though it had the sealed electronics board, I'm still not 100% confident that water won't get into this unit, and that's why I put the silicone around it. But again, meeting Ultra-Fab at this event, being able to test out their products, I think was perfect timing, and it's going to give me the opportunity to kind of showcase the difference between this LCI Smart Jack versus both of their memory jacks, one in a 4,000 pound rating and one in a 5,500 pound rating. Some other differences between the two of these is that the 4000 has a 22.5 inch total height, whereas the 5500 can be adjusted all the way up to 26 inches. And you can see that difference in the overall length of this tube right here. Another difference between the two is that the 4000 series has a 6 inch foot pad right here, whereas it's a 7 inch on the 5500. You have the same adjustability here to drop this down, I believe 6 inches, or to raise it up, and that just makes it a little quicker whenever you're hitching or unhitching and you want to basically not have to wind the jack all the way down to the ground. But with the speed of the 4000, that really may not even be an issue. And the exact numbers that Phoenix claims in terms of speed, the 5500 travels 10 inches in 47 seconds, whereas the 4000 travels the same 10 inches in 18 seconds. That is really cool. What I like about the 5500 though is the fact that on the remote you can actually initiate the memory functions, which means if you keep power going to this thing all the time, really while you're driving up to it, you could hit the remote button and have it adjust to the height that you want it, as opposed to coming out to it and having to do it. That's pretty cool. And on the top, they both have this little cap that you can unscrew and manually raise or lower the jack if for some reason power's interrupted or it's not working electronically anymore. Now, the way I have mine set up, I have to come out here, open up my little box, restore power. And one of the things I didn't really care for on this LCI jack is sometimes these buttons are a little hard to operate. You can be trying to retract it and for some reason it stops and you have to stop and hit the button again. And I just personally find that a little inconveniencing, especially when you're in a hurry and you're trying to hitch up. That being said, the first step in changing this out is pretty simple. Throw a couple jack stands underneath it, get up here, and start retracting your assembly. Get the weight off of the tongue, and the weight is already off. And you can see just how slow this moves. Now, when you heard it stop for a second, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You essentially have to have your finger on the button dead center, applying pressure, or it's going to stop. The minute you move even a slight bit, it stops raising or lowering, and that can just be a little inconveniencing. Now I'm going to raise this up a little bit more, just so I can completely remove this foot pad from the bottom. Now you can see it's completely out. Now all I have to do is unbolt these 3 bolts up here and slide the jack assembly out and disconnect my power leads. Okay, so we have the Lippert jack out. We've dropped the Ultra-Fab 5500 in, and let's see how this works. I have it connected directly to the battery because we're going to be taking this one out to put the 4000 in, but I wanted to give you a pretty good comparison of how quickly this one moves. I moved it just a little bit, and I could already tell this thing is a lot faster than the Lippert jack that was in here. So using the controls here, I can retract or extend. I have my light right here, turns the light on the front. And I can set my memory simply by holding the button down, and then it will program the memory. Very similar to the memory seat function in a vehicle. So what I want to do right now is extend so I can throw the pin in. So I'll press this. And it's probably moving at over twice the speed of the Lippert jack right now. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the pin in. And this should have absolutely no problem lifting the front of this trailer. I'm actually surprised how fast this jack is. Again, I would probably say it's nearly twice as fast as the Lippert jack that I removed. And this is the slower of the two. I'm very impressed with the performance and the speed of the 5500 series Phoenix from Ultra-Fab. Let's go ahead and take this one out and throw the 4,000 pound one in, which is supposed to be significantly faster than this one. Okay, so I have the 4000 series Phoenix hooked up now. Just have it temporarily ran to the battery, and I'm going to see how fast this thing extends and retracts. I need to put the foot into this hole at the bottom first. I can imagine this thing's going to be much, much quicker than the other two. Oh wow, that is fast. Let me throw a pin in it. See how this thing goes. That is crazy fast. If you press the button twice, it'll automatically retract by itself so you don't have to hold it. That is really cool. So let's take a look real quick at how the memory functions work on this specific jack. What you're going to do is you're going to extend the jack to where you want it. And then when you get to the desired height, you're simply going to hold the memory button down that you want to save it as. So I'll hold it as memory 1. And then the light flashes indicating it's been saved. So whenever I back the truck up and I lower the truck onto the back, to get back to that normal position, I just hit memory 1. It'll go up to that position automatically and it will stop. And you have two memory features here. So one of them can be for, let's say, if you have an SUV that tows your trailer, and another one could be for a pickup truck, or if you have two different pickup trucks that are different heights. This is a great way to really save your memory into the coupler height adjustment of this. And here's the light feature on this one. So the question is, which one am I going to use on my trailer? I could either use the 5500 series or the 4000. In my case, I'm going to go with the 4000, mainly because it is over twice the capacity as the factory hand crank that was on here. It's much faster for me, which is more convenient, and it's a little lower profile. Aside from that, there's really not many differences. Sure, the other one has a remote control. I'm not 100% sure how often I would use that, simply because I disconnect power from my trailer when I leave it here, but I could definitely see where some people could find a great use for having the remote control, especially if you're going to be using it on an RV and you'll always have power connected to it. Another really nice thing about this setup is it's backed by a 10-year warranty. They give you a dedicated power and ground wire, so it's not just grounding through the bolts. And finally, it uses a ball bearing system inside of here as well, which puts far less wear and tear on the motor and provides much less friction when it's trying to actually move this leg assembly up and down. I really like this setup. It's more compact than the Smart Jack was, and in reality I just like the fact that it's sealed so well. The controls are a little bit easier to use. They protrude out a little further and you don't necessarily feel as if you're missing the button. Has a nice bright LED light on the front of it. Again, memory features, just overall a really great jack. Now the 5500 does come with a remote control. It sits up a little taller and it has 1,500 pounds of additional capacity to it, so you can lift a heavier front tongue jack. Again, in my case, I don't need that. The remote is pretty nice and it simply replicates the controls you have here onto a remote so you can control it remotely. It even gives you access to the memory feature so you can return it to where it was. Aside from that, I really like this one because of the speed and because it's a little bit lower profile. Both have a 10-year warranty, which is really nice. Both have a manual means to adjust them in case the motor for some reason gives out on you, and they're both just really known to be reliable products in the first place. Guys, I will put a link in the description of this video if you're interested in either one of these jacks. The 4000 series sells for a little over $300, whereas the 5500 series sells for nearly $500, so there's definitely a big price difference between the two. But if you need up to 5,500 pounds worth of tongue jack capacity, then the 5500 would definitely be the way to go. Either way, they both perform quicker, quieter, and in my opinion more reliably than the Lippert Smart Jack system does, and I don't have to deal with the fact that there's a cracked housing or any problems like that. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.